Jujutsu Kaisen, or Sorcery Battle if you're nasty, a manga that started in the distant age of 2018. Has it really been that long? Oh god. You already know what JJK is. It's basically infiltrated our education system at this point. It smashed record after record in the good old pages of Shonen Jump. And naturally, when something gets as insanely big as JJK, you're going to have people with differing opinions, and I think this is definitely one of the most divisive pieces of media I've seen in recent years. And it just so happens that I have some very, let's say passionate opinions about the manga. I just want to say I am a fan. The premise, while sort of formulaic, had so much potential, man. And this world and cast, if handled correctly, could have genuinely made it one of the greats. I really like that there's a shonen manga with a straight up horror aesthetic. This can probably be said for some other series, but just shut up. There are a lot of small details I enjoy in the story as well. For example, it's pretty minute, but I like how they specifically call themselves sorcerers. It's kind of minor, but it really defines the universe and gives it its own unique identity. Naruto has shinobi, Chainsaw Man has devil hunters, and Dragon Ball has Goku. I also really like how Gege plays with the format of his manga a bit, breaking free from the conventional manga layouts, at least in the earlier chapters. I also think it's kind of interesting how Jujutsu Society is sort of like the Assassin's Network in John Wick, being hidden from the normal people that aren't privy to it, and also has its own connections, systems, and rules. All this to say, I do appreciate this story for what it is and what it tries to do. Okay. Alright, now that I've covered my ass, let's shit on this thing. I know it's basically general knowledge that Gege kills characters that everyone likes because the barista spelled his name wrong, and it could be argued that this is realistic or a good way to write, and that would be a fucking stupid argument. I'm about to go in on some of the writing in JJK, so I just want to reiterate that if you are a fan of this writing, that's awesome. But you're wrong. Okay, here we go. Why does Gege kill all of his most likable characters? No, seriously, like, I cannot comprehend this whatsoever. Junpei, Nanami, Mekamaru, Geto, Gojo, Jogo, Toji, Nobara. Oh wait, no, not you. It is so fucking weird, this aversion Gege has for his greatest creations. They all either get killed or kicked out of the story for so long. I mean, it's basically a joke how much Gege hates Gojo, but when he's in the story, I at least feel like I'm not in physics class. Like, say what you want about his character, but he at least has charisma and is fun to watch. But Gege caught us having too much fun with his manga, so we locked Gojo in the plot box for 130 chapters. Which, hey, you know, that was a bummer. But at least he was alive! Gege packed up Gojo after one fight back. His most important fight. The one that was hyped up since the beginning of the story. But no, he lost to some asshole binding vow bullshit. I'm getting ahead of myself. Another example, Todo, one of the funnest characters in the series, who breathed life into every scene he was in with his autistic riz. But no, he lost his hand and was unable to fight. Understandable, but oh, what's this? Oh, he actually can't fight? Oh, he's actually more powerful after losing a hand? Yeah, just throw a party clapper on that thing and he's good to throw hands again? Where was he? It's not like this massive thing called the Culling Games happened while he's gone. Well, whatever, fine, they got this. Finally, Hikari, the best character in the fucking manga. The anime onlys aren't prepared for the flood of swag this man is going to bring to season 3. Not only the record holder of the coolest ability, but also objectively the coolest fight in the series. And now he's been delegated to a joke in the fandom for something that isn't even his fault. Gege has given his coolest character a fight that has been almost entirely off panel. He's been missing for almost 20 chapters. I am begging for a crumb of Hikari content. Please save this dog shit manga. Oh, come on! Next, I want to talk about mismanagement of characters. By mismanagement, I mean characters whose involvement in the story was diminished solely for that fucked up cat's agenda. Nanami was wasted so soon. It's such a disgrace that Kuso fucking Kabe survived to the final battle with Sukuna and Nanami didn't. I get the whole point of his death was to push Yuji to the brink and break his spirit, but do Nanami and Nobara really need to die to make Yuji sad? Nobara I get, that's your friend and classmate, and while I don't like her, I can't appreciate how her death services the story. But Nanami and Yuji are literally just acquaintances. Like, they did one mission together. Like, if I saw one of my coworkers turn into a human zit and spew all over the place, I'd be fucked up. But I wouldn't be acting like a father figure or mentor died in front of me. I get Yuji's whole thing is his vague motivation to save people and his value of humanity, but I just don't buy their connection. But that's not to say that Nanami couldn't grow into the mentor role in Gojo's absence post-Shibuya incident. Well, if he didn't blow chunks all over Platform 12. Another mismanaged character is Yuki. Honestly, this one is just sad. Yuki is mismanaged in the way that they are set up to be important and do absolutely nothing for the plot and absolutely tarnish any hype and goodwill around her character. She trained Todo. She made Geto racist by challenging his ideology. She saved everyone in Shibuya, and in her one fight against Kenjaku, she gets beat by another ass pull technique. So what was her point anyway? One moment she has the power to destroy the world and the next she's fucking dead? I know Gege says he had the whole story planned out, but Yuki's very existence spits in Gege's eye. Kashimo also falls victim to this too. He had a great showing against Sakari and gets hyped up along with the new power, and then gets immediately ejected from the story. It doesn't leave me feeling whatever emotion Gege was hoping to accomplish with that scene. I just feel confused and annoyed at my time being wasted. I'm still a bit bitter about Toji's death, seeing as I think there's more he could have done in the plot, but then again I think Maki's final form has kind of surpassed him at this point. I thought bringing back Toji was actually a really interesting choice by Gege, seeing as we saw what made him so important in the previous arc. It's similar to Madara's resurrection, this powerful character coming back from the past that none of our current cast can get a handle on. I just think the plot thread of Toji's resurrection could have led to some interesting places. Who knows, maybe he could have made it all the way to fight Final Form Sukuna. I don't know, I think that might have been cool, but hey, what do I know? But I understand why he died, even if it was kind of for plot convenient reasons. You know, saving his son and whatnot. Sumiki is Megami's sister. Just figured I should remind you because this person, despite being Megami's initial motivation, she is completely and utterly useless. Just a plot device. Whatever. Oh, and she tries to fuck her brother, so that's just spitballing here, but I think Gege has a thing for her older sisters.
Have some shame, you sick fuck.
Hana is also another plot device, ironically also linked to Megami's past.
Guys, are you seeing a pattern here?
She failed to complete her primary function as a character not once, but twice. She provides nothing to the narrative and is another nothing boring character. Simply a failed plot device Gege has discarded. Higuruma was never really a character I had too much interest in, but I didn't mind his presence. But holy shit, Gege did not know what to do with his character. He does have a few interesting interactions with Yuji that add to his character, like where he laments on how awful killing felt since he's a lawyer and meant to uphold the law, and another where he feels like he needs to die to atone for what he's done by fulfilling his role and dying in the fight with Sukuna. I really like these scenes as they flesh out his character and motivations. But what's this? Gege finally having some solid character writing? Well, we can't have that now, can we? And then the plot rips all of that to shreds by having him do basically nothing to stop Sukuna and for some reason declaring he has the talent of Satoru Gojo and then killing him immediately just so Yuji can have more motivation to beat Sukuna? Like, you can't write this. I mean, he literally did, but not on purpose. As if the deaths of Nanami Nobara, countless people in Shibuya, and rescuing Megami's soul wasn't enough already to defeat Sukuna? This just shows how little faith Gege has in his main character. Yikes. You know what? Hey, at least you went out like a real one, facing off 1v1 with the King of Cursa. Oh, god damn it! And finally, probably the worst of all, the main man of the hour, Yuji Itadori. Yuji's power progression throughout the series has been so weird, and I know it's easy to dunk on Yuji, so I'm going to do exactly that. For starters, his kit is so random, it's so clear Gege neglected him for so long that he just cobbled together a couple abilities so he could stand a chance against Sukuna. Tell me if any of these abilities have any relation or theme whatsoever. Divergent Fist? Soul Punches? Dismantle? Piercing Blood? None of these have any kind of theme or gimmick. There's no correlation at all. I understand why he has said abilities from a narrative standpoint, but it just leads to Yuji having nothing of his own and making him dull and unoriginal. This is the main character, and his domain expansion doesn't even have a name. Its name is Domain Expansion. That's it! And it doesn't help that he loses the one interesting thing about him being the vessel for Sukuna, and it really doesn't help that he's kind of babied at certain points in the plot, like how he's the only one who can fight Mahito because of his Sukuna soul plot armor. If he didn't have that, he definitely would have died. He didn't survive on his own merits and strength, but convenience. Strength aside, he should just be more interesting, and have traits that set him apart and makes him stand on his own. It really feels like Yuji could be replaced in any given arc with a side character of your choosing, and the story would be better and more interesting. There are a few times where I feel only Yuji could fill a given role in the story. In fact, Yuji's best moment that only Yuji could have fulfilled is I'm You.
I'll accept it, Mahito. I am you.
Yuji resigning himself to a cog in the war against curses after the deaths of all of his comrades and dedicating his entire being to the extermination of curses is actually really compelling. It's actual character development after the nightmare he faced in Shibuya, and leaves him open to more development possibilities, like Yuji becoming even more dark and resigned, becoming swallowed by his mission to destroy all curses, or realizing the flaw in his thinking and coming back to the light with a new outlook. Narratively speaking, this moment is an amazing jumping off point for a potential character arc that would further distinguish and make Yuji more interesting. You take your funny shonen boy, you throw him through hell, and you see which side he comes out on. Doesn't that sound so cool? But no. Yuji sadly more or less goes back to being normal, and it's such a squandered opportunity. Just a funny little guy living his funny little life. Yay. If Gege wanted Yuji to be a stagnant audience surrogate to show the reader the world and story, that's fine, but stop making him out to be something more special or important than he is. It can't go both ways. Alright, moving on. Enough about Yuji. These next few characters are ones that Gege constantly pushes on us, but personally I couldn't give less of a shit about them. First on the chopping block is Choso. I never thought Choso was cool or interesting. He was neat as a Shibuya sub-boss, but that's about it. Plus, Yuji would totally not be cool with calling this guy brother. Like, did we all just forget that he murdered hundreds of innocent people in Shibuya? Like, this is not a good person. But he looks like a My Chemical Romance benchwarmer with eye bags, so of course everyone wants him. God, I fucking hate Choso. Alright, next. Next up, Kusakabe. I mentioned him earlier, but oh my god, Kusakabe blows. He of all characters has to fight Final Form Sukuna and only lasts a page and a half, and then gets off-screened after being hyped up to be the strongest grade 1. His primary character trait is being a coward, and he's just another basic swordsman sorcerer. Whatever. And last and certainly least, Takaba. Takaba irritates me to no end. For context, I don't really like when manga is trying to be funny. I'm not really a fan of comedy-centric manga. I prefer comedy to be derived from character dialogue and funny interactions. And that's not to say that I think all comedy manga is bad, it's just not really my thing. That being said, Takaba services one purpose: trying to be funny, failing, and having the audience laugh at how he tries to be funny, but isn't. Plus he looks like Quagmire. The fact this character was basically responsible for one of the primary antagonists being defeated is such a joke. No pun intended. Or maybe it was. Try to keep up, chuckle fuck. I feel like sometimes mangaka try to make their power systems so complicated that you just accept the rules and won't question when it sort of falls apart. I don't know, maybe I'm just stupid, but when you have a power system with like 9 different terms that all have the word curse in them that do different things, maybe you should reevaluate your system slightly. In Togashi's Hunter x Hunter, my eyes do kinda glaze over when it comes to all the intricacies of Nen, but it does rarely have an impact on the story. It just fleshes out the characters and combat scenarios. While I love him, Hikari's jackpot ability does sort of fall under this with his different bonuses and chances or whatever, but it has a clear objective of get the jackpot, and that's all you need to mentally track during the battle. I don't understand pachinko machines, you don't understand pachinko machines. As far as I know, those flashy ball boxes are portals directly into Tommy Wiseau's brain, and I do not want that. Okay, so binding vows. Binding vows break the story so frequently it makes me wonder why they even exist. They're never a satisfying solution to any problem the plot presents, they're pretty much just a quick fix to keep the story moving. Sukuna is about to die, and the story needs him to keep fighting? Bing bong, binding vow, now it's go Jover. Like, seriously man. I know Gege wears his inspirations on his sleeve, but binding vows are obviously just a rip-off of Nen conditions from Hunter x Hunter. But in Hunter x Hunter, a Nen condition isn't something you can just throw out to keep the plot going. Nen conditions come with a heavy toll. Like, Gon almost died when he fucked up and made a Nen condition to use all of his energy he'll ever have to beat Pito. That sounds pretty balanced to me. And that's not to say that all binding vows are bullshit. Nanami has a binding vow that limits his overall cursed energy output to about 80 to 90% when on normal work hours, but when he goes into overtime, he reaches 120%. There's an equal give and take. Thank you, Gege. You did a good job. Sometimes. Next thing I want to bring up is reverse curse technique. Fuck my life, I have hated this ability since Gojo came back to life with the power of a 3rd grade math problem. I mean, on paper, I don't really have an issue with it. Many shonen have a token healing ability / character, but it just negates a lot of the tension in the fights. Like, Gege unironically writes shock moments where a character loses an arm or whatever in a fight, but we all know it doesn't mean anything. It'll just get healed, because almost every relevant character in the story knows it. The only time where RCT was effectively used to build tension in a fight was in Higuruma's segment of the Sukuna fight in Shinjuku. Sukuna presses Higuruma to learn RCT mid-fight, or else he'll just kill him, cutting off his arms, rendering him defenseless unless he can learn the technique and fight back. Personally, if I were writing this story, I would put more emphasis on cursed energy reinforcement as a means of progressing the power creep. That way, when a character gets fucked up, you know shit is going down. And not just, oh, this'll be healed by the next page. Cut off their arm? They'll just grow it back. God, are these sorcerers or perfect cell? I mean, that's what Hunter x Hunter does. You know, Hunter x Hunter, the manga you bit your whole power system from. I know you've read it, Gege. There's an entire training arc where Gon and Killua will learn to manipulate, reinforce, and amplify their nen to make them better and more versatile in combat. And that also serves to progress and evolve the power system in a way that is interesting and makes sense. Okay, I promise to stop bringing up Hunter x Hunter, but go read it, it's so fucking good. Okay, so the general consensus, depending on who you ask, is JJK's story is alright. Of course, the Gege Glazers will call every chapter peak after reading the leaks, but overall most people would consider it a standard by-the-books shonen story. Pretty similar to Bleach, we have a teen boy with spirit powers tasked by an ancient organization of Jujutsu sorcerers, whose goal is to protect humanity by fighting evil spirits. Pretty standard. Now I will say I think the story is fine up until a certain point. It generally serves the narrative that Gege is pushing. I will say though, Gege is the only mangaka I have ever seen that can just straight up lie to his audience's face and people will just accept it. Like, this story is not at all about collecting the 20 fingers to seal Sukuna, which is kind of frustrating, because Gege just threw that premise away he initially set up just to become another battle trash shonen dumpster fire. Gege has a really bad habit of setting up interesting plot threads and yanking them away when you get invested. Collecting the fingers, Toji being resurrected, Geto's soul still being in Kenjaku's body, and Sukuna and Yuji being twins? Okay, yeah, maybe not that last one. All of these are brought up and thoroughly discarded, but like I said before, it's a shame these interesting ideas are thrown away in service of a worse narrative. But the story is serviceable up until a certain point. That point being the final arc. Every chapter after Gojo's death in chapter 236 has been riddled with issues that make the arc such a shit show. Like, seriously, the story just inexplicably falls off a cliff and it's so frustrating. Okay, I got this. It's fine. Okay. This story told out of order shit has got to stop, Gege. I am so serious, I know where you live. I have no idea why Gege opted to have a month time skip and give us no info on how the characters are progressing or what they are planning, when he could have easily given us 2 to 3 chapters planting the seeds of, oh, I don't know, the 9 backup plans they have for Sukuna. Instead, he just shows us a convenient flashback at any given moment and explains how our heroes plan for this and how they're going to escape the current danger. It just feels like such an ass pull and is not satisfying for cohesive storytelling when you can just flash back to a month ago with a convenient solution. And this has happened many times throughout a single arc, just a few chapters apart. In general, the month time skip was just a bad idea. It creates this weird disconnect of strength with the characters, so we don't really know how strong they're supposed to be and our expectations are warped. When we can't see the characters grow and develop and then we smash cut to them supposedly way stronger than they were before, it feels unearned and not satisfying. For example, Yuji. While Yuji does start the story notably strong, in a single year he ascends to the pinnacle of Jujutsu strength and gets a curse technique and domain expansion, when sorcerers have to train years to hone their skills and develop their skill with cursed energy. I just want to quickly mention the Sukuna cycle. It's been discussed to death, but it's a serious problem. The Sukuna cycle just makes the story feel like it's spinning its wheels and making no progress towards beating the big bad. It just gives the impression of stalling while Gege tries to think of how he can dig himself out of the hole he dug himself in. I really wouldn't be surprised if this last arc was written week to week, despite Gege claiming he had the whole story planned out. Overall, this story feels like a speed run. People praise the story for its lack of fluff or filler, but in its hasty pacing it creates a lot of the narrative issues I brought up before. I could easily see Gege railing lines of Nas so the big daddies at Shonen Jump can blow all the profits on Genshin Impact. But all that aside, the yapping in this series is a joke at this point. There is an entire chapter where they discuss the statute of limitations and how they can, within the bounds of Japanese law, convicted the ancient four-armed, four-eyed, stomach-mouth sorcerer from the Heian era, who killed thousands of people in Shibuya like last month. The dialogue just isn't good at saying what it wants to say and always takes the most roundabout route of explanation. I'm aware this is probably a personal gripe, but I felt like it's worth mentioning.
Oh god, I'm getting lightheaded.
I just wanted to quickly interject that I wrote this before the final chapter of JJK came out, and having read it, I don't really have much to add. The climax sucked, the ending sucked. Just read it, it speaks for itself. Okay, now's the fun part. I get to talk about the stuff I like. It's not a lot, but what I like, I really like. The art is fucking awesome. I've always been a fan of the art style, even through the onslaught of shit talk it has received over the years. Yeah, I can drop off at certain points, and the style has evolved in some ways that people may not like, but I have such an appreciation for the style. Every panel looks like it's etched into someone's skin. The rough and loose style fits the tone of the story immaculately. The character designs. Each character is distinctive and unique while maintaining a cohesion even in between the different factions of all the different characters. The sorcerers wear their inky black uniforms with slight flourishes that convey their personalities. Yuji's with his hood, Gojo with his blindfold, Maki with her glasses and later burns, and Megumi with his nothing. Perfect for his personality. The disaster curses, while not having a super notable wardrobe, all take their own unique shapes, sizes, and textures to convey their abilities and personalities. And Geto's cult guys, well, they kind of look like shit, but they're not that important. The body horror of Mahito's technique is genuinely unnerving at times, and is a very effective narrative tool, and contributes greatly to the tone. The fights are illustrated and conveyed amazingly with such flow, energy, and motion. You can feel the impact of each blow, and practically hear the bones breaking and buildings smashing. And this is specific to the anime, but of course I can't not mention the brilliant animation in the fight scenes, and all the people who poured countless hours into making those sequences that blew everyone away watching. And I do think the adaptation makes Gege's rambles a bit more tolerable and entertaining, so thank you for that. It really is such a shame that the animators were under such harsh working conditions. You better fix that shit, Mappa, because I know where you live too. But hopefully the production of Season 3 will be much better and they can continue to amaze us. Okay, so that's pretty much all I have to say about Jujutsu Kaisen. I'm sure I missed some small stuff that would probably just amount to nitpicks, like why didn't Gojo just kill the disaster curses with his .01 domain expansion? Or how was Sukuna able to tank 2 full power Jacob's ladders? Or how these 2 random ass sorcerers that just so happen to be perfectly suited to give Maki the development she needed to win the fight just happened to appear out of nowhere and never seen again until the very end of the story. But hey, that's neither here nor there. At the end of the day, I can't say the manga is overall great. I would give it about a 6 out of 10, but one important thing I want to leave with you, please do not just glaze this manga blindly and call it peak. You're allowed to have your own opinion, and if you love this manga and think it's perfect, good, I'm glad. But my impression is that so many people just buy into the hype and call this thing amazing and explain or refuse to acknowledge the flaws, and I think that's just stupid. If you're like me and you like a lot of the stuff in JJK but have similar issues, I would suggest trying Hunter x Hunter. I read it recently in anticipation for the big return and I have thoroughly enjoyed it. It also has its flaws and shares a lot of its DNA with JJK, but I think it's just an overall higher quality story. And yeah, that's about it. I don't know, I ran out of things to say. How do I end this?
Fuck you, Kusakabe.